This morning I would like to introduce you to Ben Marshall. Ben's going to do some workshops at Gondor. I'd like Ben to tell us a little about himself and what he does.
I'm a scriptwriter. I've had about 20 years experience, and in between times I've done storylining, which is the creation of the stories for television shows. I've worked mostly in soap opera, which I'm currently writing now, a medical drama series.
Oh,
and I've also done some kids television too.
Do you want to give us the names of some of the shows you've worked on?
I did a 10-year sentence in Neighbours, which I enjoyed a great deal, which was a lot of fun. Lovely people, great writers around, and I still keep in touch with those people. I'm currently working on New Zealand's 5-day-a-week soap opera Shortland Street. That's a medical set in the medical centre, and that's got a later time slot than Neighbours, so it can cover more interesting issues in a more adult way.
Sounds interesting. So you work from home, Ben, or do you work
Yes.
from go to the studio?
I do work from home. It's one of the pleasures of being a scriptwriter, is that you can work from anywhere. So my wife and I have worked in a lot of remote, very pretty locations, and been able to stay in contact with the office to send scripts and ask questions and receive storylines and so forth.
Wonderful. And have you ever taken a book or a story and turned it into a script?
Only one, and that was a short story from a collection of stories I wrote, and it lent itself to a script. So I sent that off to a competition, got picked up by Simon Toy at Ignition Films, and directed by Robert Braden, and that was called True Love, sorry, and that toddled its way around various short film festivals around the world and won awards here and in New York, and yeah, that was a process in itself. It was I learned a lot from that.
That's wonderful. So when you do this workshop for us, tell us what you'll cover in that.
Well, there's 3 workshops. The first one is storyline to script, and that will take the participants through the creation, the very start of the process. We'll create a premise, characters, and collaboratively work to a tight deadline to achieve character breakdowns, story, and then script, just one scene. And in that process, we'll learn a lot about how that level works. That will give participants the insiders' insight into how industry writes a basic story. The second workshop is creating characters to care about.
Right.
That is also very, very functional. It's creating character breakdowns, which are working documents which contain the character that needs to be understood right throughout the production, the whole company. They need to understand every person, whether they're makeup, sound, editing, directors, actors of course, scriptwriters and storyliners, all need to have the same understanding of who that character is. So those characters need to be detailed very briefly and succinctly and very clearly. So we'll boil character down to a sentence that anyone can pick up and go, I know someone like that.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. I'm a great believer in character development, and it's interesting to get the other side. I mean, we're talking about books, how to portray a character in a book, and you'll be talking about how to do it on the screen, and that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's whereas writing fiction is a much more instinctive process, and the characters grow and they eventually emerge fully fledged and take over your narrative virtually. In television, you have deadlines. You have many more constraints than you do on the written page. and so we'll work to those constraints.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part, how to portray everything. I mean, I know actors are very good at portraying emotion and all of those things, and that now won't have to be written in. You'll just have to put in the words, and they'll have to produce the emotion. Is that right?
Yeah, they have to instantly get the internal conflicts that are operating in any interesting character.
Yeah.
So we'll hopefully achieve some interesting characters that viewers will care about instantly. The third workshop is probably the hardest, Pitching 101.
It's everybody's nightmare, isn't it? Pitching anywhere to anybody.
Boiling down your story, your long-form story, into a concise format that you can just pitch in a sentence or a paragraph is harder than writing an entire book.
Absolutely.
And I've got to say that I find this as difficult as anyone. Industry professionals find it difficult. But last year I was one of the pitch judges for the Australian Writers Guild, and so I got to be one of a group who went through dozens and dozens of pitches. And I learned all the mistakes I've made in the past, as well as the ones that were presented to me.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I boiled that down into fundamentally a series of do's and don'ts. There's a little bit more to it. But the workshop Pitching 101 will enable people to be able to question and challenge their story idea in about 10 steps to punch it back down to a very concise core idea that is the original idea they're excited about. A lot of people write a long form fiction and you go, so what's it about? And you'll struggle. You'll go, well, it's about, well, it's complicated.
I know it goes on in our industry as well. I teach the people to do an elevator pitch, we call it.
Right. Drilling down, finding that core idea is something that you can do in a series of steps. It can be done. And it's a process of discovery. Very often you don't realise what it is you've written and what it is you're actually passionate about. But when you find that core, it might sound trite. It might be something as simple as it's a redemption story. And you go, well, of course it is. But in terms of pitching it to industry professionals, you need to have those phrases, those industry-ready, understandable phrases that will allow industry professionals to get what story it is you have to present.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and that's what we need to learn. Thank you, Ben. We look forward to having you here, and we'll see you in March.
Okay.